Sports is often enjoyed most when there's a battle, a rivalry for those to become number one. Prost and Senna in Formula One, McEnroe and Borg in tennis, and in football, Ronaldo and Messi. But sometimes sports can be dominated by a hero who's clearly head and shoulders above the rest. Football had the likes of Pelé, Best and Maradona. In boxing it was Muhammad Ali. And in racing there was Frankel.
Frankel with Soppany coming hard, and he's going to get close. Frankel from Soppany, but Frankel's unbeaten record is intact.
It's going to be 11 from 11 here. The champion of the world, Frankel in majestic form by 8 or 9 in the Queen Anne. Brilliant performance.
Frankel extends. Cirrus de Ziegler is a worthy adversary, but up towards the line. All comers, all grounds, all beaten. Frankel won the Champion Stakes and lives up to the title.
Born in February 2008, Frankel possessed a great pedigree. His sire, Galileo, had won the English Derby over 1.5 miles, whilst his mother, Kind, had won her races up to 7 furlongs. With such high-flying parents, his debut was eagerly anticipated, and Frankel was keen not to disappoint.
I think the sort of debut, I think that was almost the most exciting bit because it unwrapped all his potential, as it were, and so we knew then that we had got something quite special on our hands. And of course they fancied Nathaniel and they backed him as well. And of course the way the race developed, it sort of came down to those two, and they both went on to be sensational horses.
The win in the Kipco Champion Stakes was the last time we saw Frankel on a racecourse. He departed the scene unbeaten. 14 races, 14 victories, 10 of them in Group 1 company. He was without doubt the undisputed champion of the world. In part 2, we visit Frankel back at his home at Juddmonte Farms and meet some of his first foals, who will soon try to emulate their father on the racecourse.
It's like everything when you're talking about the really great athletes in sport. Everyone reaches a certain level, or a lot of the top professionals will reach a certain level. But it's the extraordinary effort in a top class race that just Frankel did, and the great athletes do, is that they just produce that extra bit to really go on and show themselves what they really were.
Only time will tell just how prolific Frankel will become as a leading sire. He certainly imposed his authority time and time again on the racecourse, and now it's the turn of his sons and daughters to emulate their father, who will remain for many the greatest racehorse of all time. Welcome to the UK. Welcome to UK Track Talk, and in the week of the St Leger Festival, let's have a look what's happening on the programme today. But there's a lovely aura around the yard, isn't there? It's very quiet, peaceful, relaxed, and your horses really reflect the way that the yard is run.
Well, I don't know if I'm right or not, but I've always believed that the more relaxed they are, the horses, the more they'll eat. The more they'll eat, the more I can gallop them. The more I gallop them, fitter they get, the more they win. So I think they've got to relax. So everything that we do here is designed to try and get the horses to relax so that they can take their work and continue to improve, rather than go off like a firecracker and deteriorate, I think so. And your staff is very important. I think you've got to make them understand their horses and feel for their horses and be careful of their horses. I always say careful's a word people forget what it means. It means full of care. It means not letting him bang himself, not letting him frighten himself, not letting him, do you see what I mean?
Yeah.
And so I'm pleased with what you say, because what I try and do is make them careful of them.
So when does the quiet, peaceful, tranquil Sir Mark turn into El Toreador and whiz off to España to enjoy the bullfight?
Well, I go about 4 weekends a year if I can, and the BHA displayed shocking lack of foresight when they moved the July Cup to the weekend, because it now clashes with Pamplona and Surrey, two of the most important events in the bullfighting calendar. I despair of the BHA, really. I'm not taking that into account, but I get about 4 weekends a year, and then I have 1 or 2 greyhounds in training now in Ireland, and I'll get 2 or 3 weekends a year seeing them run as well. So. I normally run one of the less good ones first, and that gives you a marker, but the right race came for him, so he ran first. But I had good fun with one of the young trainers the other day, and he was pulling my leg and saying, fancy you having a first time out 2-year-old winner going off at 14-1. I couldn't resist it. I said to him, well, you know what it's like when you run the worst one first, that can happen. Because his face. But I'm afraid he was the best one. He was the best one.
I think you have to hope that they're going to handle the procedures. It's more difficult for fillies, and particularly with a lot of runners. Ouija board, there weren't a huge number of runners in her Oaks. They've got to handle the lead up from the stables up to the paddock. It's not as noisy, but it's a bit as the Derby day, the following day. But it's quite an experience. But I think the number one thing is they have to be able to travel around there. If they're off the bridle up the hill and round Tattenham Corner, forget it. They're not going to handle it at all. It's the true test of an athlete. I think it's easier on fillies to come out of it in better condition. We all know with the Derby now the number of horses that never run again or win again or whatever. I think the Derby is an unbelievably hard thing for a horse.
They have to canter 1.5 miles to get to the start. The bit from the start to the top of the hill is as crucial as any part of the race, according to my father-in-law, Lester Piggott, who said once you've got to have your position by the top of the hill, because you cannot make up ground going round down the hill and round Tattenham Corner. So you've got to be in the right place, which invariably he was. So with Charmit, we worked him 2 days before with a 6 furlong sprinter over 3.5 furlongs to try and get some sharpness into him. And it was one of the most unforgettable gallops I've ever witnessed from our place, where he cantered all over the sprinter that led him, who subsequently ran 4th in the Wokingham. And he had that speed to get in a great position at the top of the hill, and then he was able to freewheel round Tattenham Corner. And then you've got the camber, the crowd on both sides of the track nearly all the way round, certainly from the top of the hill. And then you've got the very stiff uphill finish, which the last furlong is quite steep. If you walk it, it's an extraordinary place. It's not ideal, but it's unique, and it's a perfect test for a racehorse. You need stamina, you need agility, you need balance, and obviously ability and courage. So it puts all those in one race.
Well, I used to come my father used to send me for summer holidays, school holidays. And I had one summer holiday with Vincent O'Brien, and I had a couple with Johnny Winter, and then I started with Henry. But with Henry, then I started full time in '73 as pupil assistant, and then became assistant the following year.
And in those early years, how was that for you? Learning from one of the maestros of the industry.
Well, it was great. It was because I still am very enthusiastic about English racing. And to me, it was an eye-opener and a revelation, and I was very privileged to work for Henry.
And Vincent O'Brien, he must have shown you a different way of training in those days.
That was early, and I was much younger. I think I was about 16, so I probably didn't take a lot in. But again, he had a wonderful place, which carries on today, even though it's been brought up to another standard. But Vincent was a genius, like none we've ever seen or might never see again. And so again, it was a great privilege to be there for 3 months.
So now is the time for us to get on board and head up the gallops at Manor House Stables with Tom Dascombe.
We got a very nice filly by Excellent Art called Ixilly. She's a French bred, and she's all right. Yeah.
It looks like you're still enjoying the adventure up north here, and it's been great facilities. I love driving by the side of the horses today and getting that real feel for the motion, the speed, and the passion that you have to have as a trainer to do that every day and just be around them 24 hours. It's not that tough, but there are worse jobs around, but it's still, you've got to give it your all, haven't you? It's 24/7, 365 a year.
Absolutely it is, yeah. You know, because there used to be a time where you could have an easy time in the winter, but now you're hopefully in Dubai or you're somewhere else. Yeah, it's a life. It's not a job, it's a lifestyle. And you just got to, you know, keep doing it.
She's been a pleasure to train. She won her only start last year at Newmarket and then won the Pretty Polly Stakes in great style, and then went to the Oaks and won that in great style, and then won the King George in great style. She was just coming into season, as we discovered the following morning when she was second in the Yorkshire Oaks. She still ran a very nice race, and this has always been planned as the last race of her career here, and going over to France for the Arc. She's in great order. We'll be working her, and the build up to the race is always important, that everything goes right, but I'm happy with the way she looks and feels. She certainly put weight on since she ran at York in August, and she does enjoy her eating and her sleeping, which is a good sign in a horse.
The York performance was a defeat, obviously, her first one, but she still ran well. Do people look too much into the fact that she was odds-on favourite and people just expected her to win?
Well, I think you're 3 to 4 to 1 on, they expected to win, but the other filly's a good filly. She was favourite for the Guineas, people forget that. She should have won the Irish Oaks. And Ryan tracked us and caught us late off a strong pace, and I think our filly probably wasn't quite feeling at her best, but it's so hard to judge if they don't show any signs of this coming into season. For a young filly, it can give them discomfort, right, just as it can in the human race when they're that young, and she probably wasn't quite herself, but I'd never made an excuse on the day. I don't believe in making excuses. On the day, on the set of circumstances, she was second best, and that is the long and short of it.
And what did Paul say after the race? Because she kind of went to pick up the race and didn't quite have the kick that she had in the King George.
No, she didn't quite have that last kick, and he felt that, and that's probably what was just what was niggling her. But you know, we'll go to France, and it's an exciting race. We've got the Prix d'Anne winner, the Japanese horses, some very good French horses. It's an exciting arc, so all being well, we'll be there. You know, the last few days of preparation, the last 10 days are very paramount that it all goes right, but if it does, we very much hope to be there.
You were talking on the gallops this morning about fillies winning the arc, and that has been the case with Trev and Daydream as well, so they've done well recently.
Yeah, I think the 3-year-old filly gets a good weight. You know, and certainly Trev was unbelievable. Daydream, she ran on fast ground, broke the track record. And you go back, they do have a weight advantage, but at the same time, they've got to be the class to make it tell against the older horses. I mean, obviously the Japanese horses are very good, but we'll see whether a horse like Just Away stays. If he stays, he's as good a horse as I've seen win over that distance when he won in Dubai.
Is it slightly different for you not knowing, you know, the Japanese horses as well as you would know your European competitors when you prepare Tegruin for that?
I think they're a little bit the unknown, but I think the key thing is, as we know of his form, I think the key thing is you just got to have your horse in top order late in the year and just go there and get on with the race. You know, it's not an easy race to ride. The 1.5 miles of Longchamp is one of the trickiest to ride, so there's a lot of factors that come into it.
You need to be in the right place at the right time and have that kick, and she does have the kick, doesn't she?
No, she has the kick, yeah, as you say, but right place, right time, and have got the pace right. It's Trev went and broke all the rules last year. She went 4 wide, took off in the false straight, ran off with the jockey and still won. She broke all the rules.
Cricket, tell me about Trev. What a fantastic filly she is.
Yeah, she is fantastic. For me, she's one of the best horses I ever trained.
And how did you manage to put the disappointments of the races for this season behind you to come and win the second arc in a row?
You know, she's got an incredible fighting spirit, and she needed time to come to her best, and she arrived at the right time.
Did you always believe that you could get her back to win that Arc race?
I did, because I asked Sheikh Johan to race her in the Arc.
Yeah.
When she was 4th in the Vermeil, a prep race, I thought she did a great race that day. It was important, you know, to come back, but it was not the main target. Our main target was to win the Arc, and we brought her back.
Do you think in England we concentrate on winning every race, whereas in France you have your prep races?
Well, it's normal when you've got a good horse to try to win as much race as you can. But the filly had little problems, so we couldn't do that. But she came the right day at the right time, so for me it was a thrill.
And just explain your feelings on the day at Longchamp at the Arc when you saw the gap open down the inside and here came Trev to win the race. What were your feelings there?
Well, I thought she had a fantastic race. She was drawn on the inside. I told Thierry to stay there, use his number because he was drawn 3, and do the best, and that's what she did. In the fall straight, I was very confident that she would win.
And great work from Thierry Jonet.
Yes.
You were happy, you really wanted him to gel with her, didn't you?
Yeah, I think he knows that filly very well, and he's happy with her, so that's very important.
And we look forward to many more Trevs to come. Hopefully we'll see her again.
Yes, you will see her again, because Sheikh Johan has decided to try to do a 3rd Arc, so that's going to be difficult, but anyhow we'll try.
And
we'll try the best we can.
Do you believe again that she can do that?
If she is well, there'll be yes. If I can find her back to her best, she can, yes.
Well, that's all from us from here at the Dorchester Hotel in central London for the 24th Annual Cartier Racing Awards. We hope you've enjoyed the programme. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you again next time. From us all here in London, bye-bye. In 2004, Clive Smith purchased the horse for €400,000. He'd never seen the horse in the flesh, only on the DVD sent to him by a bloodstock agent. Something on that DVD convinced him to make the purchase, and he brought him to run over in England, and run he did. Amassing an incredible 16 Grade 1 victories, the horse would become the horse of his generation, and for Clive Smith, the horse of a lifetime. After winning his 5th King George and Boxing Day 2011, Corto Star was given one more opportunity to return to Cheltenham for the Gold Cup. Unfortunately, just a couple of weeks before the race was due to be run, he fell awkwardly in a schooling session, and ultimately his race was short-lived, with the 12-year-old being pulled up before the 10th fence. His racing career as a legend was over.